So today's topic is about causes of stress. And I made a list of 10 causes. So you should probably find yourself at least in one category. And then we're going to talk about how hypnosis helps with stress. This is one of my favorite topics because I just have a lot of interest in not only in hypnosis and how I can help people, but I also like to learn about the body and its effects on the body and on the mind and on one's spirit as well. And so learning about stress actually has you look at how your body's responding to it. And so it's very interesting. We're going to get into some of that as well. And I like to teach this topic to workshops that I've taught and also to my clients when they come into my office, because it really helps them a lot to understand why learning how to manage stress is so important on many levels. First, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. So my name is Linda Donalds, and I'm a board-certified hypnotist. I'm also an instructor for the National Guild Hypnotists, so I teach their professional training certification course in hypnosis. And I've been a member of the National Guild since 1998, so we're going on, actually I got to update the slide, it's 19 years. Next January I'll be at 20 years. So I've been a member with them for a long time. I got certified through them, and I teach the course, same as the one I was certified with. And since I got certified almost 20 years ago, I've done a whole bunch of other certifications, too many to even list here on a slide, but I highlighted a couple of them. I'm a hypno coach, so I learned how to do life coaching with hypnosis integrated with it. I also have been trained in emotional intelligence as a development specialist, and I am trained in a number of different areas involving medical issues. So I've done complementary medical hypnotism and lots of stress management stuff, pain management, working with people who have diabetes and people who have had bariatric surgery. Also IBS, fibromyalgia. I've got so many things going with medical stuff. So, and one of the things I do quite frequently is teach a hypnobirthing class at Emerson Hospital and also here in Townsend, so it's another thing I do. But my real specialty is actually in working with adults and teenagers who have ADHD. That's the area that I specialize in and that I love working with these people. So let's move on to the topic. So we've got 10 causes of stress. This is kind of how my webinar overview goes, is we'll go over those 10 causes, and you can look at the causes and see what things fit for you, so you can find yourself in that list. Then we're going to talk about how this stress is affecting your body on a physical level, and also on a mental, emotional level as well, and how hypnosis reduces stress, what it is. There's a lot of myths and misconceptions around hypnosis, so I'm going to cover a couple of those as well, and we'll talk about some other things you can also use hypnosis for. And then I'll guide you through a brief guided hypnosis experience. We'll have some time for questions at the end. So before I go on, I just for legal reasons, need to read a legal disclaimer, because some of the material that I share with you has a medical nature to it or a behavioral health component. So this is my legal disclaimer. Hypnotism is a tool for personal growth, and it certainly can have many beneficial effects on your health. However, the material presented in this hypnosis workshop is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease, illness, pain, or other symptom. And it should not be used as a substitute for appropriate medical evaluation and treatment. So if you're experiencing symptoms, please consult a qualified licensed medical or mental health provider first before proceeding with the use of hypnosis. And also, by attending this webinar and continuing on after this point, I am going to assume that you are hereby acknowledging your understanding of that above medical disclaimer, and also that you understand that you will have an opportunity to experience hypnosis, and are agreeing to that as well. So that's a legal disclaimer. 10 causes of stress. So what's your source? Actually, you probably have a few of them if you're like most people. I see myself in several categories, and yet I use all my training, my hypnosis, to help keep that stress in check, to manage it well. So we've got stressors that show up at work, between workloads and deadlines. Maybe you work long hours, have meetings, maybe you have to give presentations and you're doing public speaking. How about computer problems? That would have been mine yesterday. Tensions between employees, either it's employee to employee or with the managers. You might work in an environment where sales is a big deal and there's competitive things going on. And there's probably other things I don't have on my list. It's not a whole comprehensive list. Also home stuff, things at home, getting that work-life balance, especially if you have a very busy job. Busy schedules, trying to juggle different things inside and outside of work. Like with children, if you have children, you got to bring them to sports events and other things you do, busy schedules. Marriage, your relationship with your partner. For some also, they've separated or been divorced. And then there's children. Some people have children at home, and they can be a challenge, a joy and a challenge. And learning how to manage your parenting skills so you can reduce stress is good. Taking care of your home, there's all sorts of chores to be done, and got to do the shopping, and then there's home maintenance, and well, there's a whole bunch of things here. So we'll go on. You can read half the things on there and think of your own as well. Finances are a big thing that people worry about, making sure that they're bringing in enough money to pay for their rent or their mortgage and other bills. And we've got all the stuff that's going on in the government around health insurance right now, whether your employer provides that or you're dealing with a government program, that can be a big thing, especially today. And other things where money goes, and also planning for retirement, making sure you have enough for that. And then health conditions. I've got a lot of training and working in hypnosis for different health issues, but a lot of things that people come in for are things around chronic pain, fatigue, diabetes, things having to do with food, digestive issues, skin conditions, and all sorts of things like that. And sometimes the health conditions fall into the category you yourself have a health condition, and sometimes it's that you're a care provider for someone else who's got a health condition. So being a caregiver can also create quite a bit of stress for oneself. There's also physical appearance. There's a lot of social pressures that we have in our culture that we should look a certain way or act a certain way, even if it has nothing to do with any medical reason for it. And we can have feelings of being self-conscious. And then we have news and media. The news seems to be expanding their hours of coverage, so we have more and more news around us and all the other forms of media, and we hear about all sorts of incidences of tragedies and crime, and then there's environmental stuff going on, and we got a lot of stuff going on in the government these days, and we're just bombarded with lots of news and media. Another area of stress can be social interactions. There's a lot of pressure to conform or to keep up with the Joneses, as they say. Social interactions could actually fill up your calendar and make it very busy. Social interactions for you could be that it has to do with your confidence in interacting with others, to be in groups, and maybe a fear of rejection, or maybe social interactions is that you have a lack of them and you're feeling lonely. For some, it involves dealing with criticisms, maybe in the form of bullying or prejudice or discrimination. So social interactions is an area for quite a bit of stress there in a variety of different ways. Bereavement. We all know that if someone important to us passes on, that can be really stressful. And that could be family members, it could be other people we know, could even be our pets. And it doesn't always have to be that somebody died either. It could be a loss in a different way. Maybe a really good friend or family member moves away to another state and moves away, or your child grows up and moves out of the home, things like that. So it doesn't have to be loss in the form of a death. And then there's transitions, buying and selling a home, and maybe even involving relocating to a whole new area, or starting a new job, or dealing with unemployment and trying to find that new job, getting married, having children, hopefully not getting divorced, but perhaps that does happen for some, going to college, retirement, all different sorts of transitioning from one to another and dealing with that in-between state, and also getting used to the new way that life is after that transition. And then, of course, stress can be something that was traumatic that happened. Maybe you had an accident, could have been near death, could be a sudden loss of somebody important to you, abuse, or veterans, like you've been in war and combat, or a loss like your home got lost in a fire or something like that. These are different examples of trauma. And we can have stress over things that are happening currently in our life, and we could still be having effects of stress about something that happened a long time ago. So looking at all that, it's not a comprehensive list, but I think everything that we can think of probably fits in those 10 categories. And that's a lot of things. Some people deal much better with stress than others, but I think everybody can benefit from learning how to manage stress and reduce stress better than they are currently. And it's especially important to let go of things that have happened in the past so that we're not doubling up our stress, so to speak, dealing with old stuff that's no longer going on in our current life, and then we're dealing with what is actually on our plates today. So let's move out of stress into something else. Actually, first what I want to do is teach you a bit about what is this stress doing to you physically. I don't know if you've already heard about the autonomic nervous system, or maybe this is brand new to you. I teach this to a lot of my clients, and I teach it in every single hypnobirthing class. And I find that it's about 50-50. About half the people I teach it to know a bit about it, a little bit, and some don't even know what it is. So you have in your nervous system 2 parts to your nervous system. These are automatic responses. They happen faster than you can think. They're very automatic. So it's called the autonomic nervous system. It has 2 components to it. It's often referred to as fight or flight, or the relaxation response. I'm going to first talk about the sympathetic nervous system, because that's the one that most people think of with fight or flight, but it's the automatic response of your body when your mind perceives that there's an emergency situation going on. As soon as it perceives it, even before it might even hit a conscious awareness, if your inner mind perceives emergency, it'll immediately activate the sympathetic nervous system. And you'll go on defense and get afraid to protect yourself. It's very important. We're thinking of things back in the old days when they lived a lot closer to the land. This automatic response of the sympathetic nervous system was really important for our survival. If you were walking out in the woods somewhere, as often people were, because we didn't have all this development that we have now with buildings and so on, so you were walking along and out of the corner eye, your mind spots that bear. Well, before you can even process what you should do, your body is already going into a response to protect you and make sure you survive and that the bear doesn't get you. So, and in a moment I'll talk about the parasympathetic nervous system, because that's the complete opposite of the sympathetic nervous system. So in the autonomic nervous system, it's like an on-off switch. You either are in the sympathetic nervous system or you're in the parasympathetic nervous system. Well, okay, my PowerPoint wants to jump ahead before I was ready, but that's all right. So it's one or the other. You can't have some of each. It's either all sympathetic or all parasympathetic. So fight or flight or freeze response sometimes. This is what occurs in your body automatically without your conscious control over it. It just happens automatically. As soon as that emergency situation is spotted, your heart rate will increase. It wants to start beating the heart faster because it's got to get the blood moving around the body, because the blood is holding on to oxygen and nutrients, and it needs that blood to do a lot of different things. So in addition to the heart rate increasing, your blood pressure will rise. What's happening is it's moving things around as well. Your blood vessels will constrict in areas that aren't important to your defense, and it'll expand the blood vessels in the area that are really important to your survival. So it's going to redirect the blood flow with that oxygen and nutrients to where it needs all that. So some examples of areas that are important to defense are the muscles in your arms and your legs, so that you can either fight or you can flee. So one or the other. So the blood vessels and all of that, everything changes, all directed by the heart, with the beating the heart faster and all. Your blood will also thicken up because it's preparing just in case you might get injured. The bear scratches you big and you start bleeding, it's going to thicken the blood so it can quickly stop or slow down that bleeding. Also, things are happening in your lungs. You're also changing your breathing rate. You're breathing faster, but you're also breathing in a shallow way. You're not using the full capacity of your lungs. But you're breathing a lot faster and bringing in the oxygen that's getting moved around by the heart that's beating faster. Also, because your muscles need some really fast energy, I believe it's your pancreas, but you're going to have more sugar dumped into your bloodstream for fast energy, quick energy. Also, things that will also become less active because they're not really important to defense. One of them is your digestion. Your digestion's going to slow down. It really does not matter whether you digest that last meal you ate if you become the bear's next meal. So digestion gets shut down. Also, your brain will start functioning in a different way. It's going to go into survival mode. So the whole front part of the brain, the frontal cortex, will become inhibited. That's the part of your brain that plans ahead and makes decisions and does analytical, rational thinking. That shuts down because that's too long a process for your survival. So it shuts that down, and it goes to some of the older parts of the brain with the limbic system and the amygdala, those parts. And those become much more activated because they can deal with emergencies. When this goes on for a prolonged time, it will interrupt your sleep patterns. You won't sleep as deeply because your brain's on alert in case of an emergency. And over time, this will weaken your immune system. Your immune system can't build itself up. It gets depleted when it's in the emergency fight or flight response. Now, the parasympathetic nervous system is the complete flip side of that. This is the part of your nervous system that has you feel calm and relaxed and normal. This is where your blood flows normally to all areas. The heart is beating at a normal rate, and your blood pressure is normal. So the blood's moving around where it needs to. The blood vessels are constricted normally as they would throughout the body, so all parts of the body can get oxygen and nutrients. Your blood sugar levels are normal. Nothing's trying to get to the muscles to do anything in an emergency state. Everything's calm, relaxed. There's no emergency, so everything goes back to normal. Your food is digested just fine. Your breathing is at a regular, easy pace, and you're breathing deeper. You're filling up the lungs to their full capacity when you're relaxed. And your brain is functioning fine. It's that frontal cortex is engaged, you're planning ahead, your memory's working. You can do that logical, analytical, deductive reasoning as that front part of the brain was designed to do. Your limbic system and your amygdala will be quieted down, they'll be normal, and you'll have good, healthy sleep patterns. And as you're in that calm, relaxed state, that relaxation room, as I often call it, is that's when your immune system can recover and build up and become strong, and it'll be able to maintain a good, strong immune system. So how does hypnosis fit into all this? Well, hypnosis is one of the best ways to actually get into that parasympathetic nervous system, that relaxation response. Some things around hypnosis is that it's been around since the beginning of time. This is a natural inborn ability that every person possesses. So this hypnosis was a name that was coined in the 1800s. But it's had other names going way back, and it's existed long before it was ever given a name. So this is not something new. It is a mind-body therapy. It's holistic. There's no drugs or anything involved. So it's just the mind and the body, and it's very holistic, non-invasive. And it changes your stress response. It helps the body to produce those chemicals that do calm, like endorphins. It slows down the pulse. It lowers the blood pressure. It promotes healing because the immune system can really get bolstered up, and you can recover much more rapidly after an injury or surgery when you have a good immune system. And you'll find that as I go through this webinar that getting into that state of hypnosis is actually quite simple. Once you understand what it is, it's actually rather easy to get into it. And it is a state in which you can make the changes that you want to make. It actually gives you control over things that, especially when you're in the sympathetic, that fight or flight response, feel like they're out of control. Going into hypnosis gives you control back because you're going into parasympathetic, into that response. And there is a lot of clinical research that's been done on hypnosis, and it has over and over again been proven that it definitely works. I'm going to give you some definitions of hypnosis. I know for some of my attendees of the webinar, they know what hypnosis is. They've experienced it either with me or with someone else and have a sense of it. But I'm going to go over some things about hypnosis and exactly what it is so you can all have a better understanding of it. And that understanding will help you to access that state of hypnosis a lot easier. So I often tell people that if you were to go ask 100 different hypnotists, what's the definition of hypnosis? You get 100 different definitions. Every hypnotist has a different way of explaining what it is and how it works, but generally we have kind of some common things that we'll all mention in our definitions. So for a vast majority of these definitions, you'll find that it covers what I've got here in a basic definition, that hypnosis is a state of deep relaxation combined with focused attention, and it's directed toward a specific goal. As a hypnotist who is trained in helping people with goals and issues, that is a definition that would be very popular. However, because hypnosis has been around since the beginning of time, it's a natural inborn ability, it often will occur for you at a time when maybe you're not actually relaxed, or maybe you don't really have a specific goal. A definition that's actually more accurate for all the different ways one could experience hypnosis is simply that it is a state of heightened suggestibility, or as I like to say, a state of heightened receptivity. When you get into the state that we refer to as hypnosis, you go into a state where you're more receptive to suggestions that you might receive. Now, these suggestions might come from somebody standing in your proximity, maybe somebody standing nearby you, maybe they're on a TV or a radio or on the phone, or maybe these suggestions are coming from yourself. We're actually very receptive to our own internal dialogue. But going into the state of hypnosis, it just heightens your receptivity to all of these suggestions. And when you're working with somebody who's trained in hypnosis, we can add some other things to it. Usually you come to us because you have a specific goal, but we'll also add things that include that state of deep relaxation, but that's not actually a necessary component of hypnosis. So what I want to do to help you understand what this state is that we call hypnosis, I'm going to give you 3 characteristics of hypnosis. The first one, which comes out of that previous definition, is that there is a focused attention, something you have put your focus on and you've got absorbed into whatever it is that you're paying attention to. And often to the point where even though you know where you are, you'll just disregard your surroundings. It'll be all about what you have put your attention on and become focused into. And that could be anything. As you get more focused in on that thing that you've put your attention on, your imagination will become heightened. You'll be able to use your imagination using all 5 senses: visual, auditory, touch, kinesthetic, and taste and smell, all 5 senses. And as you get more and more imagination going on, you will, and sometimes you know that it's your imagination, sometimes you forget it's your imagination, but as you get more focused, that imagination becomes more heightened, and you'll even activate your emotions, whatever emotion fits the thing you're focused on and your imagination. And as that happens, as you become more focused in on whatever you put your attention on, as your imagination gets more and more heightened, you will naturally lose track of time. You'll have what we refer to as time distortion. You might feel like time was passing, but you can't perceive it correctly the way that the clock or a watch says time went by. You might feel like time went by very slowly, like you thought it should have been faster than that, or it could be the reverse, that it felt like, you know, a lot of time went by, but your watch says something else. So it's a time distortion. Some people don't even have any concept of any time when they get into this at all. So if you think about becoming focused in on something, letting your imagination become engaged, and losing track of time, you will probably recognize that you actually access this state that we refer to as hypnosis several times in a day. It's a natural state of the mind. Everybody has the ability to go into the state that we call hypnosis. And oftentimes it happens at times and we don't realize that that's what it is. Before I get into a little bit more around that, well, actually, let's just go back to that for just a second. If you could just put into the chat box a couple things that pop to your mind about that, things that you've noticed that you have gotten your attention focused on, times around that, and imagination became activated. And you know, the time distortion is one of those things where a lot of people go, I know that time distortion, what was I doing? And they'll reflect back, and that's often the key to realizing that you had been in hypnosis. Sometimes you don't notice that time distortion while you're in it. It's when you come out of it. So as you're thinking about that and putting some things into the chat box, some common things that people think of, I think one of the first things people go, oh my God, I do that when I'm driving my car. They'll get into their car and they'll drive off. And they don't even, half the time you don't even realize that you've put the key in and turned it and, you know, and then stepped on the, put the car in gear and reverse or forward or so on. You just kind of do all that stuff in autopilot. Meanwhile, your mind is disregarding all of that surroundings and how your car functions because you've done it so many times. And your brain has already gone into thinking about maybe something that you're driving to, your plans of where you're going, or maybe thinking about something else. Your brain's thinking about stuff, you're daydreaming, maybe you're listening to the radio, maybe you have a passenger in your car, or maybe you're on your phone. Not the safest thing to be doing, but you could be on your phone. All of these things will create a state of hypnosis. Meanwhile, your subconscious mind is in charge of your car, and it's a good thing. It does a very good job with it. We usually come back out of that state when somebody has done something unexpected, put on their brakes, and we got to stop for them, or an animal runs across the street. Those kinds of things will take us out of our state that we call hypnosis here. Other things are reading a book, a really good fiction book. If you think about it, you can be reading your book and you've got all the characters in the book, the whole storyline that you're reading, and you can see the characters. They even have their own individual voices, and you get to know them and you connect with their feelings. And as you're reading the book, you could have a whole gamut of emotional responses to the imagery and so on that's in that book. And yet it's just a bunch of black words on a white piece of paper. Everything else that you supply to make that book turn into kind of a movie in your mind, that process occurs while you're experiencing the state that we're going to call hypnosis. We also do it when we watch TV or watch a movie. Even though they're providing a lot of the visual content for us and all, we still activate our imagination. And there are other places too. We do it when we sit at a computer and get absorbed into the computer screen and we disregard our surroundings, and the content on the computer is often activating our imagination, and we can very easily lose time on a computer. And there's a whole bunch of other things. If you think about it, there's a whole bunch of times you do this, and you do it several times in the day. Look for times when you have done something so many times you can do it on autopilot, because your brain likes that autopilot because it can use it to do what we term multitasking. But usually when we're multitasking, we start creating this hypnotic response in the mind. This was my examples of natural states of hypnosis. Highway hypnosis, getting in your car and driving and not remembering actually driving it when you reach your destination. You knew you got there safe, so it was all fine, but you're missing chunks of memory about driving the car. And also the reading and the TV and all of those examples. Also another example of natural hypnosis, because hypnosis is kind of that state between when you're awake and when you fall asleep. That's that time when you're lying in bed and you're either just drifting off into sleep or you're waking up in the morning, like when you hit the snooze alarm and then you keep lying there in bed and you're aware but you're not quite fully awake. So it's the in and out of sleep. You're kind of catching that moment and expanding it. That's hypnosis as well. All right, so this is just a little explanation as we get more into hypnosis and stuff, just so that as I use different terms, we're all clear about what it means. There are about 3 parts of the human mind that are relevant to hypnosis. They're terms that we use to explain what's going on in the mind. And they are the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And I've labeled 4 here, but I'll explain why it's 3. And a critical factor. So the conscious mind is the part of the mind it's fairly limited. It's the part of your mind that you're very aware of. You know what you're thinking about, and it can hold to about 4 to 7 different thoughts in your focused awareness at any given moment. If something new comes in, it has to let go of something in your conscious awareness and move that thing that's less important into a different part of the mind, which is the subconscious mind. So the conscious mind is limited. A couple of things, it juggles them around, shifts them around, compares them, does its analytical deductive reasoning and all of that fun stuff. But it's limited. The rest of everything is in your subconscious mind. It is the storehouse of all of your memories, where all your knowledge sits when you're not using it. It's where your beliefs are. It's where your feelings come from. When you're having a feeling, it's coming out of the subconscious mind. It's also the part of the mind that does all the autopilot stuff, all the automatic actions that you've learned by doing something over and over and over again, like driving the car or tying your shoelaces or anything like that. Now, there's also the unconscious mind, And when you're talking to hypnotists and other people who do things around the mind that study it or work with it, like in hypnosis, you'll often hear either the unconscious mind or subconscious mind. They tend to be interchangeable words. That's why I kind of lump them together as one part. Sometimes they get separated out as to also include regulating bodily functions like your breathing and your pulse and the metabolism, that whole autonomic response that we were talking about, the fight or flight or the relaxation response. That's the unconscious mind when it's defined that way. But you'll often hear people also use subconscious mind or just call everything the unconscious mind. So, but then there's this part of the mind called a critical factor. This is a part that is active when you're not in the state of hypnosis, and it works like a filter or a gateway, and it's comparing everything that's coming into your experience, information or whatever, and with it, what you've already got stored in your mind. It has to decide where and how it's going to file it into your subconscious mind, because your subconscious mind stores all memories, everything that's happened to you since conception. Science is actually finding out that we do store memories since conception, still trying to figure out exactly how, but memories start way back then, and everything that's been happening since conception up into this very moment, your critical factor is filtering it and bringing it in and trying to figure out how to store it, because that's what it does. And it likes to make sure that everything kind of stays the way it is. That's what a critical factor does. It's trying to prevent unnecessary changes. And sometimes, well, this can be a very good thing, but sometimes we want to make a change, and that's the part of the mind that's getting in the way of us making the change that we really do want to make. And when you go into the state that we call hypnosis, that critical factor, it doesn't disappear. It just kind of sits off to the side, and it's less active. It's not trying to filter everything coming in, but it does continue to filter certain kinds of things for your survival, for your protection, like anything that might cause you harm, that might threaten your life, that kind of stuff. We'll go into that a little bit more in a bit, but that's what the critical factor is. And in hypnosis, that part is softened, or it takes a backseat. Different ways we explain it, but it's not as prominent as when you're not in a hypnosis. And we, as hypnotists, often like to use the analogy of the mind being a lot like a computer. Whereas your conscious mind is a lot like the monitor and your keyboard and what's up on your computer screen. It's what's in your conscious awareness. What you have open on your computer desktop is those 4 to 7 different things that you're aware of and juggling around and comparing. And your subconscious mind is a lot more like the rest of the computer, the whole operating system that actually makes the computer run, and all those files and data and everything that you have stored on the computer, but maybe you're not actively interacting with. I mean, I can tell you the hard drive of my computer is full, and it's got a lot of files. Sometimes I go poking around to see what have I filled the hard drive up with, and I come across all sorts of interesting things in there. Especially when I go into the folder full of recipes and I feel like I should cook some of these things, but I got so many of them in there. But we do that with our subconscious mind. We store all this information, and some of the stuff we'll access on a regular basis. Some we've forgotten we even have it in there. And so oftentimes an analogy is that the hypnosis or even self-hypnosis, doing it for yourself, is like running an antivirus software program for the mind so it can remove or update things that have become outdated and are mucking with our ability to achieve the goals and the success that we want. So if we use hypnosis, we can kind of clear things up and be much easier for us to have that success. A couple myths. I often come across people that say, somebody tried to hypnotize me and it didn't work, or they think that something about their personality means that they can't be hypnotized. Their mind is too busy. That's why, one of the reasons why I like working with people who have ADD and they got the busy mind going on, because that's really not something that's going to inhibit your ability to get into hypnosis. Everybody can get into hypnosis. It's just a matter of focusing your awareness onto something, letting it get absorbed, activating an imagination, and everybody has a good imagination. Sometimes they don't give themselves credit for it, and then that time distortion just happens. But it's a natural state, and I think that in the way that I explain it, a lot of people understand that, oh, I can be hypnotized, I just didn't understand what it was. So there may be a couple of examples of people that can't be hypnotized. I kind of wonder if even those examples that I've heard are even true. So the examples are people with certain mental illnesses or have had brain injury. They also mention children, but the thing about children is that they're often actually always in a state of hypnosis. So they never actually come out of it until they get to be about 7 or 8 years old. 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, somewhere in there. It's different ages for different kids, but in that range, they'll start to develop a faster brainwave speed called the beta brainwave speed, and that is when they start to actually have experiences not in hypnosis. So, but children actually can be hypnotized, and people with certain kinds of mental illnesses, I believe, could be hypnotized if they trusted the person that was working with them and the person had special knowledge about their issue. And so I think everybody can be hypnotized, and I think the only time might be challenging is if they have trouble falling asleep, like for a real bona fide medical reason, brain injury or something like that. People do go into different depths of hypnosis naturally. Some people, when they first experience hypnosis, they'll go very deeply. It'll be this profound experience. And some people only experience it light at the first times they've experienced it. But the vast majority of people get into a medium state of hypnosis. It's kind of that bell curve that we're familiar with. But it is human nature that we always get better with practice. So even people who experience it in a light state with practice, with repeating the experience of going into hypnosis, will continue to reach deeper and deeper levels and do much better with it, get more benefits. It is not just like being asleep. This is probably the next biggest myth, is because a lot of people, if they're looking at somebody else, observing them as they're in hypnosis, it can look like the person's asleep. But for that person that's having the experience, that's not what's going on. They could be very, very relaxed. They could simply have their eyes shut, but their mind is still alert. They're still aware. They know what's going on. They may have their imagination so engaged that they're actually disregarding their surroundings, and in that regard, they're not able to really not that they don't know what's going on around them, it's just their imagination's activated, kind of like when you're daydreaming. And your mind gets caught up in something, and then somebody brings your attention back to what's really going on around you. That's what it's like. But they're not asleep. They're not unconscious. They are aware. There's a little bit about brainwaves. It's talking about children. Children are often in the theta and alpha state. And then they develop the beta state. For the rest of us, we're often in a beta state, and at different times in the day, we'll drift down into a lower brainwave frequency called alpha. And at that point, you're starting to go into hypnosis. It's actually a hypnotic state to be in alpha. If you get even deeper into theta, that's when your imagination gets very activated, very vivid imagination, a lot like when you're dreaming in the middle of the night. Delta is not a hypnotic state. That is a sleep-only state, but it's a very important state. You need to have about 20-25% of your sleep time in the brainwave state of Delta for good optimum health. Another thing that people have a little trouble with is, is the hypnotist in control? There is no way that I am in control at any time when I'm working with a client. that critical factor that I mentioned before will never let me take over control of any client. And I wouldn't want to do that anyways. That's unethical to do that. But your mind is always in control. You are always in control. You won't even go into hypnosis unless you let yourself go there, and you will come out of it when you want to come out of it. You're always the one in control. You'll only carry out suggestions that make sense to you in the moment with the circumstances that are going on. Your critical factor will reject anything that doesn't fit with the reason that you want to experience hypnosis. If it detects anything that seems like it goes against your morals and values, your sense of right or wrong, or your sense of safety, it won't take in a suggestion. You're always the one in control, and it's you that actually brings yourself into hypnosis. I can't make you go there, but I can guide you. I'm really more of a guide or a facilitator. All of the power resides in you as the client. And as I just mentioned, the other myth, you can't be made to do anything under hypnosis. It has to fit the scenario of what's going on. A lot of people will say, but what about in those stage shows? I've seen a stage show and all those things they did. You have to keep in mind that everybody went up on the stage was a volunteer. So they volunteered to do crazy things. They knew they were in a stage show, and they knew that it was being done for the sense of entertainment, to have fun, to laugh, to do silly things. It's an environment where you can get away with things. So, and everybody volunteered to go up there. So those things won't happen in a setting like in my office for a therapeutic reason. They don't fit the scenario. You're also not going to go revealing deep, dark secrets. You can actually lie in hypnosis, or you can just decide not to answer. That's all right, and nobody can make you tell anything you don't want to tell. And then the whole thing about relaxation. This comes up a lot when I work with people with ADD, because they wonder, I don't know, I never relax. I'm always going, or at least my brain is always going. And they're worried about what if they can't relax. And relaxation is actually a response to suggestions. It happens after you go into hypnosis, and it's not required for the suggestions to work anyways. The relaxation response is not part of the three main characteristics of hypnosis. All you need is focused attention, which people with ADD do that. They're very familiar with a hyperfocus state. And you need to activate your imagination, and you lose track of time. That's all there is to it. So the relaxation is really coming into play because either you're being receptive to suggestions that are offered to you to relax, and you're taking them in and carrying it out, or the relaxation is because you feel that that's what you're supposed to do in your hypnosis. I mean, everybody says it's this wonderfully relaxed state, so you have a self-fulfilling expectation that you'll carry out. But you don't need to be relaxed for hypnosis to work, and even if you watch a stage show, they're not always relaxed, and yet they're responding to suggestions just fine there. So you don't have to worry about relaxation, but since this is a webinar on stress, I highly recommend that you do allow the suggestions to relax for you to carry them out. Allow them to happen, because that'll create a huge benefit in your ability to reduce your stress and manage it better. And then I think after I get through everything with people and they're like, okay, well, I know I can be hypnotized and I get it now, but what if I get stuck? And that's just not even possible. That would be like, what if I got stuck asleep at night and I couldn't wake up in the morning? I mean, sometimes we don't want to wake up in the morning, but that's not the same as being stuck asleep. And I've never known anybody to get carted off to the hospital because they couldn't wake up under normal circumstances. It's the same thing with hypnosis. Nobody's not been able to come out of hypnosis. Every once in a while, I'll have a client that really likes the hypnosis so much that they don't want to come back out of it, but that's not them being stuck. They're just saying, hey, this is so blissful, it's better than real life. So I just have to be a little more persuasive with them and assure them that they can get back there at another time. But you won't get stuck. And even if I were to guide you into hypnosis and you followed all my instructions, went into a deep level, and then I left the room and never came back, you would still come out of hypnosis just like you wake up in the morning after a good night's sleep. But it would be a short nap. It wouldn't be very long. Your brain would realize something's not right. Where is she? And you would come out of it. So there are a couple other factors that do influence your results from hypnosis. Your belief in its ability to work is very important. You have to trust that this process works. You have to trust in the process of hypnosis. You have to trust yourself. You have to trust that you can do this. And you have to have trust in the hypnotist as well, belief. And you have to be motivated. There are people that know hypnosis works, they know they can go into it, they know the hypnotist is good, but they're not properly motivated. They don't have the right commitment. And that really hinders the whole process and makes it harder for them to achieve success. You will have success when you are properly motivated and committed. Hypnosis does need to have repetition and over a duration of time. It occasionally can happen that somebody can get a permanent change in a brief amount of time, but that's not always the case. It's not even always the norm. We hear about these stories because they're great and people like to share them, but the vast majority of people need to have repetition and do that over a duration of several weeks for that new behavior to become permanent. There is a bit of difference in how deep you go into hypnosis, although I've seen people make amazing changes and they were only in a light state of hypnosis. It wasn't required to be in a deep state. If you are trying to do hypnosis for pain management, the deeper states do tend to be much more effective, but other than pain management, any state will be fine. And there is some difference about what kind of methods are used, the techniques. So basically, it's not going to be a magic bullet. I don't wave a magic wand or any of that. Hypnosis is a great tool to use, but it needs to be used incrementally over time to have its best effect. I'm going to guide you through a guided experience. And before I do that, I'm just checking in on the chat box. Yep, and Quinn has been posting a couple of things here. She has had some experience with hypnosis and is looking to do some more and would like to connect with me about that. And she also recognized that she goes into this focused awareness, heightened imagination when she's just doing routine tasks. It's that autopilot mode. So anytime you do something routine, you might catch yourself thinking about something. Sometimes we get thinking about even social interactions with others where we might play out in our mind an experience we had with another person, replaying that conversation we had with them, or maybe we're trying to figure out what kind of conversation we're going to have with them when we encounter them again. So things like that, we can find ourselves thinking about past experiences or trying to figure out how to resolve something in the future. So, and Quinn, thank you very much for sharing. So I am going to now take a moment and just guide you through a relaxation experience. I'm doing hypnosis for stress relief, so that's what we're going to focus on for this experience. So find a place where you can get comfortable if you're not already in such a place where you can relax, especially having your head and your neck supported, so that as you do allow yourself to have that relaxation, that your neck is comfortable and the rest of your body as well. And for some who might go quite deep into hypnosis, it's always good not to cross your arms and legs, especially your legs, just so you don't cut off blood circulation or get uncomfortable. So find a comfortable position and make sure your head is supported. And then I want you just to allow your eyelids to close. Just relax the eyelids. And with your eyes closed, just allow yourself to become more comfortable, as you prepare to enjoy the peace and comfort of the natural process of relaxation. Just let those eyelids relax even further. Let yourself settle into the place where you are even further, into a physical comfort. At any time, you can make any adjustments to your position just to make yourself even more comfortable. While the sounds that you hear direct your mind to more wonderful, comfortable feelings and images. And as you listen to my voice, your mind may wander at times, or you may have wonderful images that pass through your mind's eye. Or you may experience a wonderful comfort of peace and calmness in your thoughts, in your body. Whatever you experience is just right for you, because this is your time, a time you can enjoy that brings you comfort, peace, and joy. And as you are now resting comfortably, feel your first deep, relaxing breath as it comes in. Breathe in, bring in calming oxygen into your body. Allow your lungs to fill up completely. And as you exhale, feel how your body settles down deeper. Feeling your arms and your legs, your back and other muscles letting go. Supported by the chair that you're in, or if you're on your couch or so on. Just settling in and being supported. That's right. And with your next deep, calming breath, the little smaller muscles begin to also let go, to relax easily and effortlessly. Fingertips, toes, and your eyelids relax even further, feeling more relaxed with each breath that you exhale. As you take your next breath in, more peace and comfort follow. Feel the weight and heaviness in your eyelids, and that begins to pass down, over, around, and through your body. Your eyes remain comfortably closed now, enjoying this time just for you. And as that relaxation that was in your eyes is flowing through your body, notice your feet, your toes, your legs. Become aware of these parts of your body. And now tighten the muscles in your legs, your feet, and your toes. Tighten them right up. Tighten them right up, get them nice and tight, and now let them go. Let those muscles now relax and let go. Relax deeper, looser than before. As those muscles become looser and looser now, focus on your stomach muscles. Yes, that's right. Focus on those muscles of your stomach area and your torso. And now tighten them up. Tighten them right up. Make them nice and tight, tightening them up. And with your next breath out, as you exhale, let them now relax, let them go, let them loosen up. Loosen the muscles in your stomach and your torso, feeling even more relaxed. And as each breath continues to relax your body, now focus on your chest and arms, your hands and your fingers. And as before, tighten these muscles up, tighten them up, making fists as you squeeze. Feel all the tension, all the stress, all the negative feelings in those hands, tight, tight, tight hands. And then release as you squeeze. Release these things, release. Release all the tension, stress, and negative feelings. Release. Let them go. Let these muscles relax completely. Let the muscles in your chest, arms, hands, fingers relax, relax. And notice the feelings of a tingling sensation, of the negative energy leaving your body, a tingling sensation leaving your body. And as you feel calmer with each breath, enjoy these moments, enjoy them. With your next calming breath, all of the tension that may have been lingering in the smaller muscles of your neck, jaw, cheeks, even your ears and scalp, even that, let that go now. As you exhale, let that go. As you feel the feeling of drifting into a deeper level of comfort and peace. Deeper level of comfort and peace. Just allow yourself to let go into comfort and peace. All muscles feel massaged and warm, loose and relaxed. And as you become even more and more relaxed, and as I continue to talk with you, allow your imagination to now bring you to a better place. A place in your mind that is refreshing and comforting. A place where you have clear and peaceful thoughts and feelings with every breath. Like a place of solitude and nature. Perhaps at a water's edge, a shoreline of a sandy beach or lake. Or maybe in a beautiful garden or on a mountaintop. It may be a place that you have visited before, or one that you are creating just now in your mind's eye. This is a special place that is just for you. Just for you. As you become more relaxed, more calm, more peaceful. That's right. Being soothed by the sights, sounds, and smells of this special place. This special place that is so very nice. And now I want you to notice just how calm and relaxed you feel at this very moment. Perhaps very different as compared to earlier in your day. This relaxing feeling that you are experiencing here now is a very pleasant sensation, and one that you are still continuing to deepen. And it is important for you to realize that you have created it yourself. You have created it yourself. You have allowed it to happen. And that you can also recreate this wonderful, relaxed feeling anytime that you would like. Yes, absolutely, you definitely can. From this moment on, anytime you would like to recreate this wonderful feeling, all you have to do is take 2 deep, slow, gentle breaths, nice and slow, and you will feel yourself automatically relax with each breath. I'd like you to do this now. Start by taking in 1 deep breath. Allow your chest to be so relaxed that you fill up the lungs completely as you take that deep breath in. And then gently and slowly exhale that breath out completely. And then do this again. And as you do this a second time, feel yourself relaxing even more. Each time you practice taking these 2 deep, slow breaths, you'll find that you are able to relax easier and easier. You may not necessarily go into hypnosis, but you do relax, and that's what's important. You do relax. So from this moment on, anytime you're feeling stressed, all you need to do to relax is take 2 deep, slow, gentle breaths, and you will just relax. This experience and all of the suggestions that I have given you, they are now a part of you, and they will remain with you for as long as they are useful to you. They'll guide you to form new habits for healthy living. In a moment, it'll be time for you to return back to a fully alert state. To guide you back out of this state that we refer to as hypnosis, to guide you back out to that normal waking state, I'm going to count from the number 1 to the number 5. At the count of 5, your mind will be fully alert and your eyes will open. You will continue to feel peaceful, relaxed, confident, and happy, and you'll feel very good about what you've accomplished here today. All right, number 1, bringing awareness to your body and the chair or couch or wherever you are, becoming aware of that as well, bringing awareness to where you are and your body. 2, becoming aware of the room around you, and if there's anybody else nearby as a pet or a family member or so on, becoming aware of all that's around you. And 3, you feel refreshed, you feel calm, and yet you're invigorated with the energy you do need to go about the rest of your day. You have the energy you need to do that, and tonight you're going to enjoy a wonderful night's sleep. Number 4, feeling good in body, in mind, and in spirit. And finally, number 5, eyes wide open and feeling great in every way. And when you have come back all the way back up, just put something in the chat box so I know that you are all the way back. And once you are back, I will continue on with the next final slides as we wrap up our webinar. All right, so some things that you might have noticed while you were experiencing that state that we call hypnosis. As you might have experienced muscle relaxation. As I said before, you don't necessarily have to be relaxed to experience hypnosis, but I put a lot of suggestions in there for muscle relaxation and for deep, easy breathing, and so you probably experienced these things. Some things that do happen, and they're actually just characteristics of hypnosis, is you might have noticed a tingling sensation. It might have occurred in your hands or your feet. Sometimes it goes up to the knees, sometimes up to the elbows. It can also occur in your face, your nose, your cheeks. So if you notice tingling sensation, that is also a characteristic that people experience in hypnosis. Your breathing does change in hypnosis, and with my instructions, deep, easy breathing. You may have noticed that you had an altered perception of your body. You might have felt very lightweight, while you were in hypnosis, like you could float, like you were floating. Some people have the reverse. They feel heavy, like wherever they're sitting, the chair, the couch, or whatever they're on, they just feel very heavy, and they don't feel like they could move. They're so heavy. So either light or heavy feelings. Also just feeling like maybe your body position changed, or you lose track of your whole body. You're not quite sure where your arms and legs are, even though you're sure that they're just fine, but you've lost track of your body. Also, you might have noticed fluttering of your eyelids. I notice that when I'm working with clients, but sometimes they'll be aware of it too. Although you can't tell for yourself, but your pupils will dilate. So if I were to have you in my office and ask you to open your eyes, I'd see your eyes were dilating. Same with the white part of your eyes, the sclera, it'll turn a little reddened as well. You might have had some tearing of the eyes. You might have noticed when you came out that maybe some time distortion. I'm not actually sure exactly how long that process was. I'd say about 10 minutes. So 10 to 15. So it might have felt, the longer I keep somebody in hypnosis, the greater the time distortion, but you might have noticed some there. Of course, I might have been in time distortion. I gave you the wrong amount of time for that anyway. So as hypnotists, when we're guiding people, we actually go into hypnosis to conduct the hypnosis for the client. So I end up with time distortion as well. You might have had the half awake, half asleep feeling. You might have had that effortless feeling of concentrating, that focused awareness, like it's very effortless when you put your focus on something you're daydreaming about. We do that all the time, so you might have noticed that as well. Feelings of peace and well-being. And some of the other things can also be noticed in other situations with hypnosis, like we can actually use hypnosis to help recall past memories and events, so you can have heightened recollections while you're in hypnosis. I didn't do anything with that particular script to have you remember something, but that's something that can happen in hypnosis. So, and for those that are listening to the replay and are, not able to add things to a chat box because that doesn't exist in the replay, you can email me questions, or better yet, you can give me a call, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't know if Quinn has questions or not, but I'm going to move on, and then I'll just keep looking at the chat. So, stress and other things. I mean, sometimes we're not necessarily thinking about, like, I need to deal with the stress part of it, but we have something else that we have a goal around, and that goal in its state of not being achieved creates stress. So Quinn's got a question. Are there longer recordings available for doing self-hypnosis sessions? I have been in the process of working on making recordings, and I only have 2 of them at this point, did just now. And when people work with me in private sessions, I have special recordings for clients that are doing work with me. So I hope that answers your question. So think about what is the goal that you want to achieve, whether it is specifically stress reduction in its general sense, or whether there was something specific in the list of 10 causes of stress, or maybe even something else. I mean, it was not a comprehensive list, so there may be something else. But what is the goal that you want to achieve? So once you identify that goal, ask yourself and answer for yourself, how is that goal, how important is it to you personally? It's important when one is going to do hypnosis that the goal that they're coming to me for is important to them personally. I do occasionally get people that want to make a change because somebody else in their life wants them to make the change. Probably the most obvious is the people who come to me for smoking cessation. Yes, they'd like to quit for themselves, but their motivator really is to deal with somebody, usually a family member, that really wants them to quit more than they want to themselves. So for people who have a goal, it's really important that this be important to you personally, more so than it is to anybody else. And what change do you need to make in order to have your goal? What is the change that you need to make in order to have your goal? What is it that needs to be different, that when it is different, you'll have reached your goal? It could be something in your thoughts, in your feelings, or in your actions, or a combination of them. So think about that change that you need to make. And then dig in a little further. Who do you need to be to achieve your goal? Who do you need to be? How do you need to be different to achieve your goal? How does your goal fit in with your priorities? The easiest goals to achieve are the ones that you put on a high priority. If you want to achieve a goal, but it's not a priority for you, it's going to be challenging trying to get to it. So how does the goal that you're thinking of, how does it fit in with your priorities? And sometimes people come to me for one goal, but then as I'm talking to them, we find out that there's something else that's a much greater consequence, it's a higher priority, and they need help around that. And then once that's taken care of, we can go to the goal that they're originally thinking of. So how does your goal fit in with your priorities? How will other people feel about your success? How might it impact them? What other areas of your life might be affected by this change? And what concerns do you have? What's holding you back from making this change? This is the area that I especially am working with people to help them with releasing these worries, concerns, fears, limiting beliefs, so that they're no longer being held back from making that change. And then consider, what are the consequences if you don't make this change? If the change is not made, what are the consequences? What will the cost be if you do not reach your goal? And on the flip side of that, what will you gain when you do succeed at your goal? What will you gain? This is why we go after goals, is because there's something to gain. But anytime we gain something, oftentimes there's something that we have to let go of. And it's much easier to let go of things when the gain is much greater than the loss. So if you'd like to explore those questions and how we can do hypnosis to help you with your goal, you can give me a call. I offer a free 30-minute phone consultation. And I always offer that free 30 minutes for that phone consultation. Most of those conversations do result in somebody coming into my office, or I also do sessions remotely with a web-based connection, like using Skype or FaceTime or something like that. So, after the phone consultation, people often want to proceed further. So, and you can call me at 508-246-2721. You will need to make a phone call, not an email or other ways of reaching me. So it needs to be a telephone call. And if I don't pick up, leave voicemail, and I'll get back to you. So just some wrapping up tips for you. 4 tips for reducing stress. Remember to breathe. In the hypnosis experience that you just had, we have 2 deep, slow breaths. So you want to remember to breathe. So pause at different times in your day and take those 2 deep, gentle, slow breaths. This helps to get oxygen into your body, and oxygen has a very calming, soothing effect on the body. It releases that shift, so you can switch out of that sympathetic nervous system and get over into the parasympathetic, the relaxation response. So 2 deep breaths. Remember to breathe. And then be in the moment. take time at different points in your day to just tune into what's really going on. We tend to go into this hypnotic state, and it's nice when you use it the right way to do that relaxation response, but it's also important to break from it and be fully present in the moment. Practice mindfulness. They have so many studies on mindfulness going on and how it helps reduce stress. So learning how to do hypnosis correctly to reduce stress, but also practicing the out of experience of mindfulness and being present in the moment is really important. And then also practicing an attitude of gratitude. When we're stressed, we're not usually tuned into what we're grateful for. We're usually feeling panicked or upset or, all the opposite of gratitude. So to bring yourself out of that stress mode back into the relaxation response, get an attitude of gratitude. Look around and just acknowledge anything that you can spot or think of that you're grateful for. It could be things in your environment. It could be people in your life. It could be anything. Experiences you've had, whatever. But just tune into what you are grateful for, because gratitude reduces stress and it increases your optimism as well. And then focus on relationships. Who are the people in your life that matter to you? Are you interacting with them and having good quality interactions with them? Having a healthy, supportive relationship, or multiple of them, of course, with family and friends, that's what matters. Being connected to others socially is very important to managing stress in one's life. So there you have it. Breathe. Remember to breathe. Be in the moment. Look around for what you're grateful for and name it. And focus on relationships. So we've come to the end of the webinar, and I thank you very much for attending. And it'll have a replay available. And I'm going to put that on my Facebook group. I have a Facebook business page, and I have a Facebook group where you join a group. Facebook page, you like it. Join both, or like one and join the other. I find that as people go into the Facebook group, it's easier for people to know that things have been posted and workshops and stuff. But I'll post things in both places and send out the email. And you can feel free to tell other people about these workshops and these webinars and spread the word. And I will get that information up soon. And thank you to everybody else who registered and watches through the replay. I am going to sign off, and you guys have a fabulous rest of your day, and I hope to chat with each and every one of you at some point in the future here, near or future. Okay? Have a great day. Bye-bye.